All right. Hey, how's it, everybody? It is 5 p.m. West Coast time, 3 p.m. Hawaii time, 8 p.m. on the East Coast, and 7 p.m. for our Central Time folk. I am Mad Statter. This is Chatter with Statter. And we are starting our usual Sunday afternoon with Darlene and Rick in the house. So good to see people. And looks like Rick throwing down with the knowledge we love to have, which is 1080p source coming at you live. But we've got that gear, so if it's too intense for you, man, you can always just downgrade your feed. And obviously, I'm talking to folks live on Twitch for this kind of information. If you're watching a rerun on YouTube, thanks for checking it out. Be sure to like and subscribe. All right, then, let's see here. Okay, Rick, perfect. Goof evening, Mad Statter. Instead of Orion's belt, I get 3 stars. How's that? I like it a lot. Kulik in 1965, good to see you. Yes, indeedy. Lono shirt time is happening. My house was a little bit chilly, so I figured it might be good to have some sleeves on today. Might as well throw down for our favorite Hawaiian musician. That is Lono, and it is 7 p.m. Central Time. All right, I'm not just making things up because I am very good at making things up. But instead of making things up, why don't we just start the party? Okay, there we go. Rick and Darlene checking with each other, making sure they're okay. All right, are you okay there? E-music in the house. Good to see you here. All right, well, last Wednesday's show, we discussed some cooking disasters. For those of you who were there, who were here last Wednesday, you got to hear about my the KitchenAid decided to fall apart halfway through making some frosting, and it was bucking and bronking all over the place. Well, as it turns out, I was able to fix it, and not only was I able to fix it, Rick sent me a little link with the YouTube description of how to fix it for real, because I only fixed it a little bit. I managed to get the hinge pin, the cotter pin, I don't really know what it's called, the pin back in so the hingy thing could work, but alas, there is an extra key to that, which is making sure that hinge pinny thing doesn't fall out again. And so luckily Rick hooked me up with the knowledge on how to do that. So hopefully, if everything worked out right, that won't be happening anytime soon. And if it does, I'll know how to fix it. So thank you, Rick. And thank you guys for putting up with my little goofy stories. Elaine, good to see you here. Good to see you here. Now, let's see here. It looks like Kenny from the Cove in the house as all. And that's exactly it, Rick. I have to do the set screw. That is what it was called. I have to tighten that thing to make sure that I have to tighten the one thing to make sure the other thing stays in the big thing. And that is technical jargon for you. That is right. So I had my, I thought I had my cooking disasters taken care of for the holiday before the holiday even happened. But that's what you get for thinking, huh? Yeah, exactly. So plans for my Thanksgiving were supposed to be very simple. I was going to make a steak. And as it turns out, I haven't made a steak in a really long time. And, yeah, I guess I, lost my touch, shall we say. And so pretty much the most expensive piece of meat that I've ever purchased in my entire life, managed to get ruined on Thanksgiving. Yes, indeedy. Very, very, very thick steak that I managed to cook all the way through. Yeah, so I used to think I was a good cook, and now I can honestly say, no, I'm not. And even though I did have 2 steaks actually, and I did cook one the next day to make up for my horribleness, and it was fine. I fixed it in the second one. All I have to say is I am so glad that I was not in charge of feeding anybody on Thanksgiving except for myself, because the meal would have been ruined. So that's what I am wondering. That is what I'm wondering for you guys. Did you guys have any disasters for cooking? Did you all get your baked goods baked perfectly and your turkeys turkedly? And yeah, did it go smoothly? Did your mashed potatoes end up on the floor? I'm very curious as to what disasters may have befallen your meal on Thanksgiving, because I feel like, everybody's got at least one story from, oh, we forgot the rolls, which isn't that big of a deal, to, oh, we burned the meat beyond recognition and now we've got nothing to eat. I don't know who did that, though. I'm sure nobody did that. Except for maybe me. Yeah, Kulika, distraction is bad while cooking. But the thing is I wasn't really distracted. I mean, like, I set a timer and everything. The problem is I haven't ever cooked a steak that was like so thick. And so I definitely overcompensated. I overcompensated the cooking time for the steak being as thick as it was. And so then, of course, the next day when I was just like, well, I'm going to make this second steak better. So then I vastly undercompensated and I was like, oh, well, that's still raw. So then I had to put it back in the oven. I mean, it really was. The second steak was delicious, but it still wasn't done properly. Yeah, it took me 3 tries on 2 steaks to finally get an edible piece of meat, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Hey, Picola T, how you doing? I am just letting all y'all know that there is no bigger Thanksgiving meal failure than the one that I had this year. So if you guys have some Thanksgiving meal failures that you want to share with the Satterbox crew, by all means, share them, because my best guess is, I did worse. This is worster. And E-Music, honestly, obviously I didn't fast over Thanksgiving, but for the most part, I might as well have fasted, because the meat that I cooked, I didn't eat most of it that day. So yeah, it was definitely a case of saving the leftovers for the next day and trying to figure out, what am I going to do with them? So, Kenny, 9 out of the 10 things that you cook are bachelor chow. Nice. Oh my goodness, Darlene, this morning you made from scratch homemade blueberry pancakes, but the last couple, as we were bringing plates out, and left the last couple on a bit too long on the one side. They were edible, not too bad. The others were perfect. Well, okay, here's the deal when it comes to pancakes. You can overcook them a little bit, but if nothing else, you can just sort of scrape that part off, or there's always extra butter, extra syrup, extra jam, extra sugar, extra peanut butter. Whatever it is you put on your pancakes, there's always extra that you can put on in the name of covering the flavor of the burn, right? Oh, Rick, you got some funny food sale turkey day stories, but you're sworn to silence. Well, that's too bad, because I would be very interested in hearing them. I'm just knocking my studio around here. And yeah, Picola T, practice. That's exactly what my boss said. She said that she was taking the steak failure as a sign that I need to buy more steaks so I can remember how to cook them. And frankly, I like that advice. I like that advice a lot. Now, Andre, you didn't have any because somebody else cooked. But funny enough, your mom was a great cook, except when it came to turkey. She once invited her parents over for Thanksgiving, and when she brought out the turkey, it was raw on the inside. Oh, no. And yeah, she probably hadn't practiced because her parents always made the turkey. Honestly, though, I can't believe that she's the first person to have that happen. I am fairly certain that undercooked turkeys are a very commonplace thing. And I hope that, I hope that A, nobody ate that turkey, and I hope that B, her parents didn't point and laugh and give her the ha-has. And so, hold on, wait. Rick, you're right. I did read it wrong because I didn't interpret it right. I thought there was a little bit of a typo, but as it turns out, I misread. I'm sworn at for the silence, he says. Got it. Not sworn to silence. You were sworn at for silence. And Kenny, that's right. They're not burned. They're blackened Cajun-style pancakes. That is precisely it. And, let's see here. Andre, the only thing that you're known for is butter mochi. And the funny thing is I made a mistake on the recipe and I think it turned out better. And I do like my butter mochi better than most that you've had. Awesome. Well, sometimes mistakes can absolutely create a better situation. Other times, not so much, as it were. But when it comes to baking, sometimes a little happy accident is a happy accident for sure. And, Pocola T, your friend years ago discovered there's bad giblets inside the turkey after she roasted it. I think that happens at least once a year. I've seen seen YouTube videos about that exact same thing where people are like, what is this? And I do think that's kind of funny, but it's also kind of disturbing because it's like, well, first off, when you're cooking turkey, don't you season the inside of it? I season the inside of my okay, I've only cooked one turkey once, and I don't remember if I seasoned the inside of it, but I must have because I always season the inside of my chickens when I roast them. And so I'm sure I season the inside of my turkey, even though I've only done it once. So, don't you guys, really, white people get a reputation for not seasoning their food. And when I see videos of a bunch of people pulling giblets out of their cooked turkey, it makes me realize you must not have seasoned the inside of your bird if you didn't notice that thing was in there. I'm not even going to get started on the whole, why didn't you wash the bird on the inside and the out and whatever. Some people do, some people don't. Fine. If you don't wash your bird, I'm not going to point fingers or whatever. But if you don't season your bird, I might point a finger. Okay, Kulika, you brine your turkey. Exactly. And that brine is getting on the inside. The brine is getting on the inside. And Andre, thank you for gifting that sub to Serena BR. And let's see what Darlene has to say, though. A few years back, you're at the Daughters in Madison with her in-laws. You were to make the turkey gravy while the bird was carved and the other foods were out. And I made the worst gravy ever. It turned out like paste. Oh, I've never done that before or again. Darlene, you know what, though? I'm sorry that you did that. But I'm so glad to hear that you did that because I have gone from making the most divine, seasoned, perfectly wonderful gravy that doesn't even separate, even after it's been sitting, the perfect texture, the perfect lusciousness. And then the next time I made gravy, it turned out like wallpaper paste. I don't know what it is, but sometimes you either have the gravy knack or you don't have the gravy knack. And that knack can come and go at will, it seems. You being an amazing cook, having that same thing happen to you as happened to me, I suddenly feel a little bit better about that horrible memory of a gravy that you could set brick walls with it, basically. Gravy paste seems like a good thing in a tube for camping. Yeah, totally. Or actually maybe a sandwich topping, it's spreadable. It's not going to get the bread so wet. Salt, sugar, citrus, pepper. Yeah, that sounds good, Kulika. I don't know. I've got a turkey brine recipe and I don't think mine has citrus in it, but I do know that one of the best turkeys that I ever had was stuffed with oranges, and that extra citrus note really did it really added to the depth of flavor. So that's a really good idea. I might have to let's see here. What am I trying to say? I might have to copy your brine, and let's see here. Let's see here. Kenny from the Cove, your Uncle Henry was a hardcore alcoholic. Back in the 70s, he decided he wanted to roast a goose for us for Christmas. He also decided to drink until he passed out while roasting a very expensive goose in the oven. Of course, the result was more like a burnt offering than food. Yeah, and I think now I've never cooked goose. In fact, I don't think I've ever even eaten goose. But goose, like duck, are kind of higher in fat, right? And so you've got like a lot of potential for fire. A lot of stuff can burn on that burnt offering. And let's see here. And oh, of course, you were so embarrassed. And yes, of course, that's why they asked you to make it, because they liked your gravy. And then I'm sure the in-laws were just like, all y'all like this gravy? What is wrong with you? And you're just like, it's usually better. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Kenny, Uncle Henry was also a cook in the SS during World War II. Could be why Germany lost the war. Could be. Could be. Yeah. So, okay, Darlene, I'm not just making that up. It was goose and duck are more fatty. And you just outright were just like, nope, there will be no gravy today. There will be no gravy tomorrow. There will be no leftover gravy because there is no gravy in the house. I don't know how the gravy disappeared, but it just disappeared. Yeah, I'm feeling you. And, oh, really? Goose is one smelly bird to cook? Okay, you got to air out the house when you're done. Kenny from the Cove, you don't mean to brag, but when you make milk gravy or sausage gravy for breakfast, that stuff is ambrosia. Yeah, you know, seriously, sausage gravy is one of the easiest gravies in the world to make. But you know, you can't make sausage gravy for your turkey. It's just not quite the same. I mean, I would eat sausage gravy on my turkey now that I think about it, but I've never seen it served like that. We might have to start a new Thanksgiving tradition. Turkey gravy. No, sausage gravy on turkey. I might like that. And let's see here. Kulika, the goose is kind of swampy smelling. Gotcha. And Pocola T, how did the phrase cooked the goose come to mean you're in trouble? I don't know. I don't have any idea. But stinky or not, Rick's got his Prel. Rick's got his Prel to combat that smell. And so here you guys, actually, here's something that I really do want to ask you guys about. It's not a serious question, but it is a serious question. If you had to make a lot of turkey for a big Thanksgiving gathering, which do you think would be easier to manage? 2 smaller turkeys or 1 larger turkey? So, cause we were talking about this at the bar last night and we were going through the pros and cons, and it's like, well, the larger turkey takes a lot longer to thaw, and in the thawing process takes a lot more room in your fridge. But then again, the smaller turkeys might cook weirdly and unevenly, and you might have to like do a little turkey shuffle halfway through the cooking. But on the pro side, if you've got a lot of people who like drumsticks, 2 little turkeys have more drumsticks than 1 big turkey. And then, you know, so you know, I'm just wondering, and then, and e-music, that was another thing. Everybody was like, cooking a really big turkey is kind of more of a hassle, right? Just trying to get everything cooked right. But see, you think Pocola T, 2 smaller birds, Pocola T, you think 2 smaller birds are more complicated because you never know how long to reach internal temperatures, multiple probes. Andre coming in with 2 little turkeys means that at least 1 good will come out. That's exactly what a lot of the people at the bar were like. Well, so okay, Darlene coming in, 2 smaller turkeys is better. Not too small, but 2 10-pounders is better than 1 20-pounder, cooking time and all. Okay, cool. So that is okay. Yeah, as long as they're the same size. Yeah, totally. Though the smaller turkey size was not specified, I think it was kind of a given that we were all assuming they would be roughly the same size smaller turkeys. So, and so let's see here. Rick, one small oven, so only one fits right. Well, see, and that was actually another factor. Although on the other side of that, if you get a turkey that's too big, then the turkey, you might not even have a pan that's big enough for the turkey that's too big. And so we really didn't we did not come to a consensus ultimately, which is why I'm bringing it to the Scatterbox crew so we can discuss the merits of 2 smaller turkeys versus 1 larger turkey. And Andre, 2 small turkeys equals 2 types of Yeah, that's exactly what you wrote, Andre. Let's try that one more time. 2 types of turkeys means 2 types of stuffing. And all right, so Say What, good to see you here. And what is Say What saying? You want a fancy smoker. You had a smoked turkey for the first time, and it would make this all so simple. I love it. I love it. All right, but the smoked turkey, well, that's a whole other thing. However, if you had a smoker, then 2 turkeys would be easy because you could put one in the smoker and one in the oven. But let's see here. So, wow, Kenny, you got a large 2-bay gas oven. You can do one or both. Okay, you guys, Kenny's doing Thanksgiving next year. He's got a 2-bay oven. So everybody's going to Kenny's house for Thanksgiving next year because it sounds like he has the hookup for all of the birds. We can do all the birds at Kenny's house. And so, Darlene, I'm going to bring your knowledge to the bar, and when we continue the discussion, the next time I see the folks that we were having this discussion with, I'm going to bring in that the cooking goddess that I referred to says 2 smaller birds is better. And let's see here. Andre, they made a cannabis smoked brisket in Colorado, so you guess they could make a cannabis smoked turkey? I guess, but I don't know if I'd really want that. I mean, I understand that cannabis and, okay, first off, I'm a weed head. I've always been a weed head since I was like 14 years old. I love weed. But I'm not going to say that it's like the smoke is as tasty as, say, a mesquite or a Keavi or an alder or an applewood or hickory. There's a lot tastier smokes than a cannabis smoke. And I just really don't know if I would appreciate the flavor profile that a cannabis smoked brisket would bring to the table. That being said, I'm perfectly willing to try. Don't get me wrong. If you put it in front of me, I would definitely take a bite. But I just don't know. If that is, I don't really know. I just don't think I would like it that much. So there you go. And so let's see here. Darlene, you're going to be off limits for the gravy, and I'm off limits for any steaks. That's just not. And let's see here. Kulika, I agree. I feel like it's kind of a waste of weed as well. I feel like there's way better things you could do with that weed than burn it for smoke for the brisket. And let's see here. Oh, wow, Kenny from the Cove. Last year, your friend Marty smoked 2 turkeys and roasted a third one. The huge crowd he had meant no leftover turkey. Bummer, dude. Okay, Say What? You've got yourself a question here. You're trying to think of the big ways to make turkey. There's the classic oven baked, there's smoked, and there's fried. Well, okay, so I will maybe, with the the other one that I can think of is not the classic oven bake, which I would consider an open pan, a turkey in an open pan being baked. That's what I would call classic bake. And then they do have those turkey bags, which you put the turkey in the bag and you bake it that way. And that is a little bit different than the classic bake. And generally, the turkey in the bags are going to always be super moist, but you sacrifice the crispy skin. And so I'm not sure the payoff is worth it. So I would suggest perhaps that another method is an asterisk to the classic oven baked. But other than that, I can't really think of, I guess actually another thing would be you could spatchcock a turkey, which is also an asterisk on an oven bake. Spatchcocking, for those who aren't familiar, is when you remove the backbone of the bird and then you lay it flat. Some people even put like bricks and stuff on them, but basically you lay the bird flat and it cooks a lot quicker and it cooks a lot more evenly. So you could spatchcock a bird, but once again, that's still a bake. But it's not exactly classic because you can't put it with stuffing because you've flattened it out instead of, the hole is gone basically. And where? Good to see you here. And asking the really legit question, isn't that tryptophan enough sedation than a cannabis smoked turkey? Well, now, not all cannabis makes you drowsy. If you've got a sativa, that bird might make you go feel a little anxious and get creative and up and running. So, and yeah, I feel like the flavor would be totally off. And let's see here. Although, yeah, right, Picola tea, the cannabis might make you a little bit hungrier. And so, and let's see here. So, brined turkey, yeah, it's brine. Well, brining a turkey, frankly, is mandatory. I think you have to brine your chickens before you cook them. Because if you want to make sure that you don't have dry breast meat, brining is the key. Period. End of story. Period. End of story. And let's see here. Say what? Yeah, exactly. It's not. Crispy skin wins. I totally agree with you there. I totally agree with you. And do they have tandoori turkey? I've never heard of that, but it sounds delicious. I love tandoori chicken, so why not tandoori turkey? And let's see here. Wow, Kenny, you can cook a turkey in a air fryer? I can honestly say I have never seen an air fryer big enough to even have a small turkey in it. I mean, maybe a Cornish game hen, but that would be that'd be a big old air fryer. So let's see here. I don't know if you can make a Peking duck style turkey. I have no idea. Let me rephrase that. I know what Peking duck is, but I don't know how they even make it. I just know that it looks really shiny and yummy, but I've never had it to my memory. And so let's see here. What are you all talking about? Yeah. So, but Picola T says that a Seattle friend picked up a Chinese style roasted turkey for Thanksgiving. So I guess Peking turkey might be a thing. And, Rick, you heard a beer can chicken. Well, maybe a beer pony keg turkey. Totally. Well, no, or actually, Rick, how about just, the big Foster's lager cans? The big, I bet you a Foster's lager can could work for a turkey. Maybe. I don't know. And, Breville makes an air fryer that can accommodate a 12 to 14 pound turkey. Holy flirking snit, you guys. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. But I guess that's awesome. I don't have an air fryer. I feel like it's a waste of space for my kitchen counter. As you guys know, really, there's only one appliance on my counter, and it's my KitchenAid, and I do love it when it isn't falling apart. But it's not anymore, so we're good. And so let's see, did I miss anything all up in her? Cool. Yeah. Okay. So I think that we've got I think our turkey talk was pretty good. So, as per the usual, we've got to do the incoming turkeys because it is the season. I know that the turkey season is over technically, but some people still have turkey for the Thanksgivings. So there you go. And Kulika, exactly. I would rather use Foster's as a cooking beer than as a drinking beer any day. So there you go. I think that that Foster's, the Foster's can is the official turkey beer can is the Foster's can. E-music. No, there's no music, but now there is music. Thank you for the reminder. I try to do everything. I try to remember, and then I forget. So that's why we don't have a show unless all of us are here to make sure that we have a show. So that is right. We are listening to Lono. We are looking at Lono's name. We've got Lono's little emote in the chat. And let's see here. Andre, they do have a recipe for Peking style turkey, so people must do it at home. Awesome. Okay. And let's see here. And you've done chicken on a throne, but yeah, they'd have to have one big beer can for a turkey on a throne. Yeah, and I think that you know, the Fosters just might be big enough. I mean, I suppose there might be a turkey too big for the Fosters, in which case bring out the pony keg, but I think that the Fosters might be good. And let's see here. Memphis fan forever. Hey, good to see you. You just got home from eating at a new restaurant called Karen's. Honestly, Memphis fan, I don't really know if you're joking or not, because well, did someone really name their restaurant Karen or Karen's? Because that's kind of funny. I mean, we all know what a Karen is these days, and so to name your restaurant that, I mean, it's like, what is a manager? Is every waitress a manager? Just in case there's a Karen? You know, my brain is just wandering way too down that rabbit hole. But honestly, Memphis fan forever. I'm not. I don't know if you're serious or not, because that could be a really funny joke. But if you did get home from eating at a new restaurant called Karen's, okay, the waitresses are mean and they curse. Okay, so it is meant to be that. Got it. All right, Memphis fan forever. What did you get at this restaurant? What do they serve there? And Andre, Karen's need a restaurant too. And Anne, you've got a small steam convection oven. Only a small turkey fits, but the steam keeps the tiny turkey moist and delish. Nice. Yeah, I've only made one turkey in my life, and it was actually a good turkey, but it was so long ago that I definitely don't know if I have the knack, and we already know from my earlier story about how awful my steak turned out because I lost the knack. I don't think I could trust myself with feeding people a turkey unless I did a trial run myself. Yes, indeedy. And say what? So you just did a quick Google. You were surprised at the number of Karens. Interesting. Huh. All right then. All right. Let's see here. You got an American 8 wings with fries and a burger. Wow, that sounds like a meal and a half. But you know what? I mean, can't go wrong with a burger. Cannot go wrong with burger. Burger, actually. I've never had a burger. And let's see here. Oh, really, Kenny? There's a restaurant in San Antonio that follows the same operating style as Karen's. And I could do a trial with a tiny turklet. I actually think I might for the Christmas seasons. And I mean, I'm not going to be feeding anybody but me. But turkey bones make the best turkey bone broth. As much as I love chicken broth, turkey broth is, to me, a superior sample of soup. That's a superior sample of soup, is the turkey broth. And so, as someone mentioned, I think it might have been Kalika, but I'm not sure, 2 turkeys mean more turkey bones for more turkey soup. And that's another reason for 2 turkeys instead of one big one. And say what? Karen's Custard and Hamburgers Road Trip. Well, I don't like that they spelled custard with the K, because that's sort of annoying. But that doesn't matter, because custard, I'm assuming they mean frozen, is delicious. So I would like to eat that. And Andre's coming in with the knowledge. Karen's is an interactive diner and an absurdly fun experience. At Karen's, you'll be greeted and waited upon by rude waiters and forced to play a variety of games. You can expect good food, good fun, and a dining experience like you've never had before. Let us know if it's your birthday, if your name is Karen, and for the love of Karen, don't ask to speak to a manager. Exactly. And I agree, Andre, that restaurant kind of sounds like a punishment, not a restaurant. I'm really not sure If I want to be playing games just to get my food, I mean, I guess it depends on the kind of game, but I'm not very good at games, and I'd rather just... I get better at games after I have my food, and before I have my food, my blood sugar's low, and I'm not very smart. So give me my food, and then maybe we can play a game. But just give me my food, Karen! Give me my food! And yeah, exactly, Andre. Games are for drinking, not for eating. And yeah, Darlene, the rudeness sometimes, it's just like, I know it's a joke, but you totally just like hit a button that, you know, yeah, I can appreciate what you're saying there. The rudeness, it's like, that can go either way. I mean, even if you're expecting it, and even if you are in on the joke, sometimes, you know, just like, even if they say something that was meant totally as a joke, it's just like, oh, you just hit one of my insecurities. You know, you didn't know you hit my insecurity, but you just did, and now I feel bad. And so, Picola T, yes, I have been known to play games to win booze. Yes, indeedy, yes. Or, Picola T, you've been known to get your eyes checked just so you could have some booze, huh? That's right, Picola T and I went and visited an optician. Of course, it wasn't really an optician, but the sign said it was. We were in a bar, though. Yeah, exactly. Comedy is comedy, but sometimes... You know, I mean, and they don't, I'm obviously projecting my fears onto the concept, but it's like, the restaurant might not know that, you know, my blue eyes are a source of insecurity for me, or, you know, something totally random. I don't know, you know. That's right, Darlene. We had 2 eye appointments. 2 eye appointments at the bar. And the funny thing is, after we left the optometrist, things were a lot blurrier. Let's see here. And you wonder if they have a high turnover of servers. The scripted insults, though expected, might low tips. Yeah, you know, hard to say. But I can tell you this. As counterintuitive as it is, and obviously this is only one example, but... I was a busser at a bowling alley restaurant. The restaurant did not have a lot of tips to begin with. They were not a tipping crowd. But seriously, the worst waitress with the biggest attitude, the rudest waitress, she walked away with more tips than any other waitress I worked with. I didn't understand it. I to this day don't understand, but serious as a heart attack, she was the rudest. I mean, I remember watching her picking her eyelashes while she's taking an order at the table. And she still managed to get, like, the biggest tip that I had seen that night. You know, so I can't explain it. To this day, I cannot explain it. All I know is what I saw. And it has left me confused to this day. Yes, it has. It has left me confused to this day. And, Andre, you don't need to pay to be treated badly. The world will do it for free. Absolutely. Abso-flippin'-lutely. That is the truth right there. Let's see here. Rick, bad tippers. Is that because the bowlers can't spare the change? There you go. Let's see here. Andre, you walked by Biscuit Bitch in Seattle and they were closing, and man, they were rude about it. To those who did not know to talk to the lady. Yeah, they're a lot. People have a real mixed reaction to Biscuit Bitch, actually. I don't really care so much about their service style. I just have read really bad things about their biscuits. So I've never gone to Biscuit Bitch because I kind of hear their food's not that good. But Biscuit Bitch, right before the pandemic, Biscuit Bitch was like rising in popularity in Seattle. She was starting to open a whole bunch of other locations. There was actually one in White Center, for a while that opened for like a minute, and then the pandemic hit, and then her world basically collapsed, which was awful. But at the same time, it was just like, your food wasn't really that good from what I understand. So just stick with your main locations. We don't need dry biscuits in every neighborhood of Seattle. And yeah, exactly. And where some folks do like being treated badly, I mean, and they pay good money for that. So, and so, Andre, hey, you can bitch about the service or you can bitch about the food. So it's true advertising. Good point, my friend. Good point. Very good point. Yes. All right. So speaking of Seattle restaurants and the like, there is a Seattle restaurant called Toshi's, and Toshi's serves teriyaki. And Kenny from the Cove, dry biscuits are why gravy was invented. Exactly. But in teriyaki, there are no biscuits and not really any gravy either. But you do need some teriyaki sauce on those chickens or on those rices that might get a little bit dry. But speaking of teriyaki, all right, you guys, so we're going to learn a little bit about Seattle teriyaki today and how it relates to Japan and Korea and Hawaii. And before you say teriyaki is Japanese, I need you to know that you're not altogether 100% right. So, what is teriyaki? So let's see here. Hello. All right. So yeah, say what? Oh, you want to go to the biscuit bitch? the biscuit bitch. You got to come back up to Seattle, my friend, because she is still there. And so, Darlene, you are halfway there. So, and say what? All right. So say what, you guys. Say what, as I mentioned before, I think, was a college roommate of mine down in Olympia, Washington. We lived together. And Say What has spent many years living in the Seattle area. And see what he just wrote there? He misses Seattle teriyaki. Seattle-style teriyaki is actually a thing. Now, we're going to learn all about it today. But before we learn about Seattle teriyaki, I want to show you a quick little clip that I stole from Amanda and Felix Eats. And they were in Hawaii eating teppanyaki, which is very similar to Seattle's Seattle-style teriyaki. So, Andre, what you're saying has nothing to do with what I'm about to talk about in Seattle's teriyaki scene. But before we do that, let's just watch what Amanda and Felix has to have in their little teppanyaki situation, and then we will go on, and I will tell you all about the Seattle-style teriyaki and all the little quirks about it. But before I do that, Papi Shaney, good to see you. You're just in time to learn all about Seattle-style teriyaki because it's actually a thing. All right, so let's get through the stolen content that I'm about to play from Amanda and Felix. By the way, if you guys aren't familiar with Amanda and Felix, they're a local couple from Oahu living in Honolulu, Hawaii, and they go around the island of Oahu talking about all the different foods that you can find on that island. And one of them is teppanyaki. All right, here we go.
While we're walking around, I could not escape the intoxicating smell of teppanyaki. That awesome smell of seared meat over the grill top. Oh my goodness, come on, how could you resist? Of course, we had to stop by. We went to a place simply called Blue Teppanyaki Truck. Very appropriate because it is indeed a blue teppanyaki truck. They're normally on Makahiki Street.
Which, if you didn't know, is by the Walmart in Honolulu.
Their most popular combo, steak teppanyaki and chicken teppanyaki. Oh my goodness, puri ohana. Seared to perfection, lightly sauced, seasoned. I cannot wait to get into this. So it is served with garlic, fried rice, and a side of corn salad. Where's the mac salad? Who knows? We're going a little healthier today. This is like a bodybuilder's post-workout meal. So guys, we're gonna try the chicken first. Pork tender, nicely seared, lightly sauced.
It looks like a teri teppanyaki chicken. Has a nice sear to it. Cheers.
not too salty. I like the sweetness from the teriyaki sauce.
Nice hints of like freshly cracked pepper.
It gives it so much flavor. So simple, but so craveable.
All right, so that is the, all right, hold on, I gotta adjust some things. All right, there we go. All right, so that is the Hawaiian style teppanyaki, which has a teriyaki sauce. What does that even mean? Well, teppanyaki is actually just refers to the cooking style, a pan. It means that it's not grilled over coals. So teppanyaki has nothing to do with the sauce that's on it, has to do with how it is cooked. And as you might have heard or might have noticed, Felix referred to the teri sauce on the teppanyaki. All right, so that is very similar to what Seattle style teriyaki looks like. However, we don't do corn salad and we don't do mac salad. We do actually a green salad. So it's a green salad with a very specific dressing. It is some rice and then it's the meat, right? Okay. So even though teriyaki is Japanese-based sauce, and the first teriyaki joint in Seattle was a thing called Toshi's. And this is a picture of 1976 first restaurant, Toshi's Teriyaki. I cannot remember what the gentleman's last name is. Toshi Yashahara, I think maybe is what his last name is. Anyway, this was his very, very first teriyaki stand that he had in Seattle. And he slowly has expanded expanded with other restaurants. He's been declared the best teriyaki in Seattle for a while now, and this year he got that honor again. He is currently cooking. He himself, the original Toshi, is cooking at the Mill Creek store. Now, Toshi's Teriyaki has branches all over the place. There's one in Burien. It is my favorite teriyaki place in Seattle. And Toshi also, you can even get his sauce. And it is very much a Japanese style teriyaki sauce in the sense that it's it's not very sweet. It's not very thick. In fact, this is what a Toshi's teriyaki plate looks like. Toshi's teriyaki, as you can see, the rice, you've got the salad, you've got the grilled meat, and then you've got an extra bit of sauce. It's a little bit thinner than what you would think. And the Toshi style is basically soy sauce heavy with a little bit of sugar, but not very sweet at all. It's very light. It is a lighter sauce, thinner as it were. Hey, C Honda, good to see you. Now, Toshi's style teriyaki, however, even though Toshi's teriyaki is the first teriyaki to open in Seattle, it is not the only kind of teriyaki in Seattle that has been called Seattle style teriyaki. In fact, this gentleman, John Chung, he is a Korean man who came from Los Angeles, and in 1983, he opened his own teriyaki stand in Seattle. Unbeknownst, he had no idea about Toshi. He had no idea that Toshi was doing his thing. So Chung comes into the town and starts making his teriyaki. Now, his teriyaki is, as you can see, a little bit thicker. It's a little bit of a thicker sauce. It's a little bit redder. It's got more ginger profile, a much gingery profile. Toshi's is a more garlicky profile. Whereas the Chung version is much sweeter, much thicker. They prepare it slightly different way. Now, even though this guy was the first guy, Toshi did his own thing and opened his own stores slowly but surely, and he expanded his brand. This guy, he was a member of the Korean church. And as he helped immigrants from Korea come to Seattle or come to the US, he would have them work at his restaurant. And so as his church members worked at his restaurant and learned his secrets, his trades, his methods, they went and opened their own teriyaki shops throughout the Puget Sound. Happy Teriyaki would be an example. Say what? Do you remember Happy Teriyaki? They were everywhere in Olympia. Happy Teriyaki was probably one of the first restaurants that I ever went to that had Seattle-style teriyaki. And Happy Teriyaki can be they can draw a direct line to Korean-style chung teriyaki. So if you are in Seattle, chances are you're going to run across this style of teriyaki more often than you're going to run across this style of teriyaki. Now, both of these teriyaki plates, even though they are a little bit different, they are also a little bit the same. And what is it that makes them a little bit the same? What is it that every Seattle-style teriyaki plate always has? It's this. It's the salad. It's the salad with the white dressing. Doesn't matter if you have Korean-style or Japanese-style, Seattle-style teriyaki plate, you're always going to have iceberg lettuce with a white dressing on it. Now, sometimes the iceberg lettuce has shreds of carrot. Sometimes the iceberg lettuce has shreds of cabbage. And that's about as fancy as it's ever going to get. You always have the iceberg lettuce. It's always going to be iceberg. It's never going to be romaine. It's never going to be fancy. You're going to have the iceberg lettuce, and everybody has a slightly different dressing, but this is basically the dressing recipe that it all sort of stems from. Some of the places don't actually use the soy sauce, garlic powder, the sesame oil. They just use the mayonnaise, vinegar, and sugar. Other places play with the seasonings, but it is this pathetic little green salad. Exactly, one salad to unite them all. You got it, you guys. And so, that, my friends, is what makes a Seattle teriyaki plate a true Seattle teriyaki plate, because as much as you would think the teriyaki style would be the defining characteristic of Seattle teriyaki, no, it's not, actually, because there's two types. There's the Korean style and there's the Japanese style. I will eat both of them, but honestly, I prefer the Toshi's version, which is, like I said, it's a thinner sauce, it's garlickier, it's more soy heavy, versus the Chung Korean version, which is got way more ginger and way more sugar, and the sauce is a little bit thicker. So now you guys know all about the nuances and the history of Seattle teriyaki. And as you could just see earlier in the chat, say what? Mrs. Seattle-style teriyaki. You would think that the kind of foods that, having lived in the Puget Sound area, the kind of foods you would miss when you leave would be things like Dungeness crab or salmon or this or that other thing. No, it's Seattle-style teriyaki that most people who have lived here, when they move away, it's what they miss the most, because these teriyaki stands are in virtually every strip mall you're going to find. You can't wander around Seattle without running into a teriyaki stand. And so, and like the Hawaiian plate lunches, they're very reasonably priced, and you get a lot of food. If for no other reason, rice is cheap and it's filling, but you also do get a lot of meat. And so it's usually chicken thighs. When you get the chicken, it's usually the chicken thighs. It's always going to be boneless. And yeah, so if you're ever in the mood, if you're ever in the Seattle area, and when I say the Seattle area, I actually mean the Puget Sound area, Kitsap County side, King County side, down as far south as Olympia, even further, I'm sure, up and down the I-5 corridor in the Seattle area, you're going to find teriyaki any place you look. And so that if you really do want like a taste of what the locals eat, that's what you want to try. There you go. And yeah, exactly, Darlene. Plenty meat on those places. That's the Korean style, and then that's the Japanese style. Neither were chintzy, right? So yeah, I was looking through the interwebs the other day, and I noticed that Toshi had won an award for the Seattle's best teriyaki. And while I do agree it is the best teriyaki, once again, you're not gonna run into Toshi's style teriyaki in every teriyaki place. It's usually gonna be the Korean style that you run across in the Seattle area. You think you got $29 on that steak plate? Well, first off, those were Hawaii prices. Rick. And nobody orders steak teriyaki. It's always the chicken teriyaki. And the chicken teriyaki plate is usually pretty reasonable priced. And so, Andre, thank you so much for those 400 biddies. It will go to my next teriyaki plate. And so, Sihunda, yeah, that's it. We've got the teriyaki history. And when I say teriyaki history, I obviously mean the Seattle style teriyaki history, because teriyaki sauce, the way we think of it on the mainland, actually can be traced back to Hawaii. Hawaii is the place that added the pineapple juices, made it the extra sweet, this, that, the other thing. Because for the most part, teri means to glisten. And so teriyaki sauce traditionally in Japan really is very simple. Soy sauce, mirin, maybe a little bit of sugar. And it's just to make your shrimp and your fish glisten as you're cooking it. So let's see here. You also like chicken egg foo young too? Yum. Yeah, we don't have any chicken egg foo young at the teriyaki places, but plenty of the Chinese food places you can get that. And let's see here. Yeah, and Andre, you passed so many. So Andre was here like what in I don't remember what month you were here. June. You were here in June, and he passed so many teriyaki places when he was up in Seattle. Next trip, he'll try some. Had some little time and so much to eat up there. And let's see here. Say what? You know what? Yeah, see if you can find a place down where you're at that does the teriyaki, even if you have to go to a Korean style place. Because, I find it hard to believe that, because you're still in the Bay Area, right? So I find it very hard to believe that the teriyaki trend hasn't made its way down to your neck of the woods yet. Because it is a culinary style that actually there are places in New York City that specialize in Seattle style teriyaki. And once again, you guys, Seattle did not invent teriyaki, nor are we claiming to have. But the Seattle style teriyaki is that plate with the salad and the everything, and that's what makes it Seattle style. And so there you go. Yeah, Andre, I'm very glad that you got to try Zippy's as well. Zippy's is a burger joint up in Seattle that closed I think a week after Andre left. It was a surprise to everybody. It was not supposed to close. I've already gone through that history, but we definitely miss Zippy's here in the White Center area. And say what? Your neighborhood is so Hispanic. Yeah, I'm not surprised. California, I mean, as Hispanic as my neighborhood is up here, it does seem like the Puget Sound area has way more Asian influence than many places in California. So you might have to take an Uber to go find Koreatown or something and go look. Actually, I wonder if you Google, can you Google Seattle style teriyaki near me? And maybe you can find something down there. And let's see here. Darlene, you've seen some new looking restaurant that had teriyaki but haven't been there as of yet. Well, gosh, Darlene, I would not be surprised at all to learn, to find out that teriyaki place that's in your neck of the woods might be similar to the Seattle style teriyaki places that we've got around here. It's like I said, they're expanding, the style of food is going way beyond just Seattle. And Andre, they do have Toshi Grill at some farmers market in the Bay Area. They absolutely do. And it is the same Toshi. He has expanded to a couple restaurants in the Bay Area. In fact, say what? I don't exactly know where you are. And I don't have this information off the top of my head. But they do. Toshi's Teriyaki does have some locations in the Bay Area. So here we are. Andre's coming in with all the facts that you need to know. So if any of these areas, because I don't know exactly where you're at anymore, say what, but if any of these areas are even close to where you're at, then you do have Seattle-style teriyaki, at least occasionally, available to you in your neck of the woods. All right then, so that concludes our Sunday teriyaki. Our Sunday teriyaki lesson. I know it's been a while since I've come at you with I'm going to teach you some things. But I figured, everybody loves food. We always talk about food. So maybe I could teach you a little bit about some food. And so there we go. I taught you about some foods. And Darlene, they're expanding for sure. More people have been talking about teriyaki. Yeah, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. But if you do go to that teriyaki place, I expect a report. Oh yes, I expect a report. Report back to the class, Darlene. That'll be your extra credit homework. Or no, that won't be your homework. That'll be something you can show and tell later on. It'll be for funsies, just show and tell. And there you have it. And so, exactly, Teriyaki 101, a delicious class, precisely. Unfortunately, I don't have any samples to give out to the class, but, oh, Rick, exactly. You can do a Terry drop. Perfect. It'll bring a Terry tear to my eye. Excellent. Perfect. So, alrighty then. So, I don't know what else we have to talk about today because that's all I had planned for today was a little teriyaki talk. So now the chatter can for sure scatter. We could talk about rice. We could talk about whatever. But I think we've already talked about rice before, so maybe we don't need to talk about that again. All right. I know what I'm going to do. I know what we need to do. It's time for a Lono break. All right. Let's take a Lono break. And Andre, thank you so much for those biddies. Alrighty. So this song is off of the White album. The White CD by Lono. And not many people, I think, have the White CD. It's definitely not one of the common CDs that I listen to over and over again, but when I do listen to it, I always remember just how good of a CD it really is. So, for those of you who don't have it, here is a little taste from the White CD.
Okay. How about the new hat, huh? Thank you, Ann. Thank you very much. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Cutting off trees again. Soon there will be no more forest. Where will all the creatures go when they come crawling to us? Where will they go? 'Cause they need a home. Dolores had a tragic habit, shared a needle with a friend. Please accept her in your kingdom, for she knows not what she does. Take her out heaven. Life is so short, my friends. Before it starts, it's over again. Yes, leaving us this legacy in time. Take her up heaven. this legacy in time. Take her up to heaven right now on time. Okay, there you go.
All right, so there we have it. That's our typical Lono music break here for the evening. Thank you so much, Rick, for doing a shout out for Lono, getting all that info out there. And let's see here. Darlene on PBS TV in Seattle showing pods of killer whales. Awesome. I'm super stoked about that. Andre, thank you so much for even more biddies. And yeah, actually, Darlene, the killer whales, the orcas that we reported on last stream about the SuperPod that was hanging out for multiple days, they're still hanging out. So it sounds like, it looks like the food situation here in the Puget Sound right now is very favorable for the southern residents. Hopefully they are gorging themselves like bears, because some of the whales in the pods are looking remarkably thin. There are a couple baby orcas. Well, they're not babies anymore, but they're still juveniles, and they're undersized and underweight. Some of the adults are actually coming up what's known as peanut head, which is a situation where you can see the orca has started to lose so much fat around their skull that there ends up being a hump in it, sort of looking like a peanut. And when the orcas have a peanut head, that definitely means they're underfed. And they have noticed some of these conditions in the southern resident whales, which means their food stocks are lower than optimal. And so the fact that that they're hanging around during the salmon run in the Puget Sound for so long is both a good and a bad sign. But basically, we're just going to be focusing on the positive and hoping that they're going to be all fattened up for the winter. Exactly. And getting rid of that peanut on their head. They got to get to be their regular headed selves sometime soon, we hope. Alrighty then. So, let's see here. Back to the Lono conversation. I'd like to remind everybody that Lono is no longer selling any of his CDs, but you can always get the digital downloads. So if you want to go and get a digital download, head over to lonomusic.com and he will send you the digital download of the album that you're buying. The actual musician himself will send you that album. You cannot get a more ethical, direct way to support a musician than the system that Lono has going for his music. And so instead of paying Apple $1, you get to pay him money. And he won't get 25 cents from Apple. He will get all of the money into his pocket, and Apple will see nothing. So there you have it. And is anything being done to help them? Any feeding program to supplement? No. I don't really know if there's a feeding program. They eat salmon, and the salmon are either there or they're not. They don't. I don't know if there's ever been any attempt actually at a feeding program for the whales. And honestly, I'm not so sure. Do you want to start feeding wild animals? Like, that's a really interesting question, Darlene. I don't know. It's a really interesting question, Darlene. And honestly, I can say I don't know. And that's right. I'm writing it down because I'm kind of curious. My ignorant point of view states, I don't think it's possible. But I also know enough to know I don't know. So yeah, let's find out one day, but not today because I don't know. And there you have it. So so Darlene, yeah, the all of Lono's music is definitely worth it. So if you do not have that white album that I just played a song from, by all means, go grab it from him and add it to your collection. So let's see here. We've got a couple more minutes. We've got, about 15 more minutes left. And honestly, I'm not so sure I have any idea about what to talk about. So we might need to we might need to just grab a topic and go with it. But yeah, wildlife shouldn't be interfered with. But at the same time, we do, there are feeding programs for a lot of different wild animals that are stuck in situations with no food. I know that, or I remember when I was a little kid, there was, they would talk about, like on Sesame Street or whatever, they would talk about bringing food out to like I presumed they were like wild elk or moose, or maybe they were reindeer. I don't really know. But I do think that, they're, that in some cases we do interfere with feeding the wildlife. So right, but you've got to help them if you can. And so it's like, well, I think we feed some of the four-legged wildlife when they don't have enough food. So maybe we should think about feeding the whales and the like. And let's see here. Ivers, the official local orca feeders, could be a thing. Totally. Yeah. We'll find out if there is any program, and if Ivor can become the official head of it. And Andre, you looked it up, and in Burien alone there are like 8 teriyaki restaurants. Yeah, like I mentioned, teriyaki is everywhere, man. Teriyaki is everywhere. And let's see here. Rick, could increase salmon planting to feed the orcas. Well, we already kind of do that. It's not to feed the orcas. It's really to feed the peoples, and just to restore the salmon runs. Ultimately, that is what the problem is, right? Is the lack of salmon. And the lack of salmon, you can't farm that. Let me rephrase that. Pacific salmon can't really be farmed. So you're stuck with the same problem that we've got right now, which is salmon habitat restoration, removal of the dams, creating estuaries, getting the sediment and the silt down into the riverbeds where the little smolts can hang out for as long as they need to. But then you've also got, we do actually have Atlantic salmon in pens in the Puget Sound, which I've already been on a soapbox about that. Should not happen. But let's just say all of those Atlantic salmon that we have in the pens in the Puget Sound were released to go feed the orcas. I don't know if the orcas would eat the Atlantic salmon. The southern resident orcas, their diet is so salmon specific. And when I say salmon specific, I mean Pacific salmon specific. I don't know. Because they don't just eat any fish, right? And so I don't really even know if they would eat the Atlantic salmon. Once again, a question that I might have to go down a rabbit hole. And I'm writing it down right now. Atlantic salmon. Do orca eat? Andre. Oh, if only it were that easy. Hey, if they grown Atlantic salmon in the Puget Sound, they need to kick in for supporting the orca. Yeah, that's That is a lovely thought. I'm just not so sure that that the salmon would agree, or excuse me, the orcas would agree. I mean, it's just sort of like, if you're used to eating Wagyu beef your whole life, and then suddenly it's just like, hey, I've got a chuck roast for you. It's just like, I don't even know what that is, let alone you want me to eat that? I think that's maybe how the orca might look at the Atlantic salmon. You want me to eat that? I don't want to eat that. And Andre, you also bring up a good point. If they like the Atlantic salmon, those smart orcas would have already raided those pens. It's a very good point, actually. So I'm going to assume, since the Atlantic salmon pens generally don't get attacked by orcas that I've heard of, they probably don't like the Atlantic salmon. But that obviously is just a guess. I mean, clearly I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. I'm not a marine biologist by any stretch. I manage a tax and accounting office, which is quite possibly the most opposite of a marine biologist that you can possibly get. So, I don't know what I'm talking about. So let's see here. You just heard on Booze that lobster isn't going to be sold across the states due to the decline in population. You guess becoming rare to find mature lobsters, and you need the mature lobsters for helping. Oh, you just heard on the news. Right, that makes sense. And you need the mature lobsters to keep the population up. Yeah, and that really is unfortunate to hear, actually, because from my understanding, the Maine lobster population... Wait, is that what the Maine... Yeah, they're called Maine lobsters. The ones, up north in the Atlantic, the ones that everybody really likes. Because spiny lobster that you can get in warmer waters, and you can get a kind of lobster on the West Coast as well, it is not the same. I mean, it's a lobster, but it's not exactly the same meat as you get with those New England Maine lobsters. Those Maine lobsters are like, they're the gold standard of lobster, right? So anyway, that lobster harvest, the lobster fishermen, lobstermen, I don't know what they're called, but that community has been so conscientious of maintaining breedable stock and keeping and not overfishing their precious resource off the shore. And so, because they keep the jumbo ones, the really big ones. Those are like the hyper producers, those are the ones that lay all the babies, etc. And you're never allowed to take a girl lobster. Girl lobsters are forbidden. You have to throw that back. Female lobster, I guess, actually. Anyway, as you can tell, I'm not a marine biologist. But yeah, they have done for years, they have been very conscious of overfishing. But like I think Andre just said, the climate change is warming the waters and making things less desirable, I guess, for the population, and the acidification of the ocean, etc. So, it's very disheartening to know that even though the lobster community, the fisherman community of that area did everything that they could to maintain the resources that they were harvesting, but still factors a little bit outside of their control have created a situation of scarcity. And then I can also only assume that an increase in our population and then demand for the lobster helped play a role in it. But that being said, like I've mentioned, the lobster fisher people, I suppose, because there's probably a lot of chicks out there who are throwing those lobster traps off the boats too. So I don't mean to be sexist with my wording there. Sorry about that. But they've been very cognizant of not overfishing their waters, and so it really is unfortunate that we're facing this situation. But I'm super stoked to hear that the retailers are taking notice, and like you said, Whole Foods just canceled live lobster sales. That's actually, it's unfortunate, and I wonder what kind of black market there's going to be for lobsters coming soon. But at least on an official retail level, I am glad to hear that they're cutting back on on supplying for the demand that is there, because the demand will always be there because lobster is tasty, or Maine lobster is tasty, but yeah, you got to keep those populations up. So I'm going to assume, and I don't know, but I'd like to think that maybe, even though, well, you guys who heard these articles, who saw the news, you guys could tell me. So are the lobsters just like dying off, or are they maybe like moving further north or moving further out? You know, are they finding newer places to breed, where the water's cold enough, type of thing, because it sounds like a bunch of crabs maybe did the same thing not too long ago up in Alaska. They just up and moved their breeding ground to someplace a little colder where they like to be. So I'm just wondering, did they mention that maybe that's where the lobsters are going, someplace else where it's colder enough, you see, because that's where lobsters want to be, is where it's colder enough. Yeah. So I'm just curious, guys, if there's any scuttlebutt about that. Because that's what I would like to hope, but I'll bet it's not happening. So let's see here. So, all right, nobody's answering my question, because maybe nobody has the answer to my question. And so, okay, Darlene, they stated was the population was down, made it sound like fewer around, but they didn't say why. Right, which is probably responsible, because they probably don't know exactly why. And chances are, like Andre was mentioning, it's probably a host of reasons why. So, yeah, we're all just, we're all in for this wild ride coming up in the next 25 years, I think, guys. I'm not trying to, like, have bad vibes, but, this next 25 years is going to be interesting, I think. One day, we might actually say to our youngsters, I remember back in the 1900s, when I was alive, I used to eat bugs from the sea, and we called them their lobsters. What are you talking about, Grandma? There's no such thing as a lobster. Oh, no, there is a lobster. There was a lobster. I'm telling you, the giant lobster. Oh, that's just Grandma. She's crazy. Let's go put her in a home. That's my impression of what's going to happen 25 years from now. Yeah, exactly, Darlene. I'm a bit worried, but not dwelling on it. Yeah, you can't stop it. Exactly. We can only do what we can do to help mitigate, but at this point, the cat's out of the bag, right? Or however that is. The rooster's out of the fox is out of the hen house, or in the hen house already, or I don't know. I was looking for some colloquial saying that would work, but I don't really know any of those sayings. And let's see here. Oh, okay, Andre. So they need the water. Oh, lobsters. Why do you have to be so complicated? They need the water a certain temperature for the chemical to work that allow them to mate and not be killed by their mate. So if those chemicals do not spread, then no little lobsters. And the goose is then cooked. But the lobster industry, really? So Rick, all right, so Rick, you're saying the lobster industry is just like, hey, Whole Foods, we want your business. You're wrong. There are plenty of lobster. Okay, well now that was a plot twist I did not anticipate. I don't know who I want to believe, the lobster industry or Whole Foods. I mean, as a general rule, I would like to think that the fishermen know what's up. On the other hand, on the other hand, they have a vested interest in selling their wares. So, interesting. Same news story, just both sides of the same story. All right. Well, that doesn't surprise me. You mean something has two sides of the story and life is complicated and there's not just one easy answer? Rick, you're ruining my point of view. Yeah, exactly, Andre. Whole Foods is Amazon, so already I'm like a little bit suspicious. I mean, it's just like, I don't really like Whole Foods, and I don't really want to like anything Whole Foods lobsters, on the other hand, what they did, maybe I like. But then again, the lobster people, they don't like it. So yeah, it needs research, which is fact. Exactly, Darlene. Exactly. Rick, it's just a power play for the 1% to get all the lobster. Well, but Rick, only the 1% can afford to shop at Whole Foods, for God's sake. If any place in the world was going to demand their lobster keep in stock, you would think it would be Whole Foods. Because Whole Foods is just, the Whole Foods is just too expensive for right, exactly. As Andre said, it's called Whole Paycheck for a reason. Whole Foods is, it's just out of my budget. I wish I could say that I shop there all the time, but yeah, no, cannot. Exactly, Darlene. Yeah, we don't go to Whole Foods. Yeah, not even close. Not even close. I mean, I suppose if I wanted to find ethically sourced wild elk or something, I might go, well, no, actually, I would just go to my hunter friends. I mean, I suppose Whole Foods has some things that you can't get anyplace else, but, no. Yeah, exactly. Kenny from the Cove. Whole Foods is way too rich for this kid. Precisely. I mean, I think really, you got to be an Amazon tech person to be able to afford the Amazon grocery store. So let's see here. Oh, really? Whole Foods was founded in Texas. For some reason, I really honestly thought that it was a California thing. But I do know that Whole Foods, the original Whole Foods, eventually got bought out. So I do know that, however old Whole Foods used to be structured, it's not like that anymore. Oh, it started in Austin. Well, okay. Never mind. So basically, Andre, what you're saying is it started in California. Got it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Because Austin is basically California, by Texas standards, at least. Oh, Rick, good point. The 1% never step foot in Whole Foods. They send the help. Right. Exactly. And let's see here. No, Andre, I've never been to the Amazon grocery stores. In fact, I honestly can say that Amazon doesn't want me in their grocery stores because I would just steal. I would just steal. I don't have an Amazon account. I would find a way to get in the store, even though in theory not having one wouldn't let you in. I would probably just steal from the store. And so they don't want me in that store. If you're not gonna hire people to check me out, then no, I don't want anything to do with you. I have a huge problem with, well, living in Seattle, I have a huge problem with Amazon that, goes out in all the tendrils and all the directions, and we're not even going to get the soapbox out on that one. So we've got 1 minute left to keep me off my Amazon soapbox. Can we make it? Can we do it? And Kenny from the Cove, Austin, aka Austin for Ostifornia, Calif Austin, exactly. Darlene, no, they don't have anybody working there. That's the whole thing. That's the whole point of the Amazon stores. There's nobody that works there. There's no staff. It's all automatic. It's all done via your smartphone. There's nobody there. That's part of the reason why I have a problem with those stores. But yeah, I probably would end up getting caught. But I don't care. I would still, I would just, well, you know what? Nope, we're not gonna start. Darlene, you almost got me on that soapbox. Can you tell how eager I am to get on that soapbox? But we are going to step away from the soapbox. That's what we are going to do. All right, it is 6:30. It's time to wrap things up. So we are going to see each other hopefully on Tuesday on Andy Boomatai's show. with Daily Pigeon Live with Andy Bumatai. And if we don't see each other then we'll see each other Wednesday for Chatter with Statter. And if we don't see each other then Saturday, Statterbox at the cinema, 6 p.m. West Coast time. We will be watching some movie. There's a good chance it's going to be Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but I don't have it in my hands yet, so I can't promise nothing. All right, so glad to teach you guys about Seattle Style Teriyaki. Glad to get a good little laugh at me almost on the soapbox. Thank you so much for thinking it's a fun chat, Darlene. And Andre, thank you so much for that 1,000 biddies. You guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you in just a couple days. All right, then. Take care now.